G'day everyone, Rune here, and this is Chapter 7 of my What If Ash Met Meowth First series. In the last chapter, we saw this world's version of the Ghost of Maiden's Peak, said goodbye to Butterfree, and watched Misty's first attempt to take on Sabrina. To quickly recap that last point, Misty had attempted to take on Sabrina with Squirtle, only for it to be shown the same treatment as Pikachu from the original. After the team is saved from being crushed by Sabrina's doll, they are told the story of why Sabrina is the way she is. Hoping to find a ghost Pokemon that can teach Meowth Dark Pulse, Ash and company make their way to Lavender Town. On the way, Misty makes a comment that gives Ash an idea. This is where the next chapter begins. Once the team arrive in Lavender Town, they immediately make their way to the Pokemon Tower. Upon arriving, they hear the screams of Team Rocket getting scared by Ghastly. When Brock makes his comment about the tower being a torture chamber, Ash scolds him and tells him to stop scaring Misty. He then says that the screams don't sound any different to him than the kind of screams you hear in a haunted house on Halloween. Misty asks if he's sure, and Ash assures her that ghost Pokemon are often mischievous pranksters, but generally harmless. He wouldn't be surprised if they turned the tower into a haunted house, but they wouldn't do anything to actually hurt them. Entering the tower, they go through the rooms until they reach the dining room. There, the chairs and tableware are floated around randomly, startling everyone and making them leave the room as quickly as possible. Once they're out of the way of the floating items, Ash gives a small clap and admits that that was a clever trick, much to the exasperation of his friends. However, the compliment does draw out the three ghost Pokemon, Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar. With the ghost Pokemon now in front of them, Ash asks if he can request a favor of them. When Meowth gives him the go-ahead, Ash asks if any of them know Dark Pulse or Fling. As it turns out, the Haunter knows Fling, while the Gengar knows Dark Pulse. Ash then asks if they could teach these moves to their Pokemon, only for the ghost to say that that would be boring. Ash thinks for a moment before suggesting turning the training into a game. Haunter would teach Misty's Squirtle Fling by turning it into a game of catch, while Gengar would teach Meowth Dark Pulse by turning it into a shooting range game. After finding some things that could be used for target practice and that could be thrown around, the group get to work. By the end, Squirtle knows Fling and Meowth knows Dark Pulse. They also become quite fond of the three ghost Pokemon, so much so that when the group decide it's time to head back to Saffron, Haunter decides to tag along. When they finally get back to Saffron, Ash asks Misty if she's still good to go with the plan. Misty says that she's not entirely sure if it'll work, but if Ash is willing to try, then so is she. Arriving back at the gym, they enter Sabrina's chamber, who voices her surprise over them coming back. She asks them which of them is going to battle her this time, to which Ash and Misty answer that it will be both of them. They're challenging her to a double battle. Sabrina's doll expresses confused curiosity at what a double battle is. Ash explains that it's a form of battle popular in the Hoenn region, which allows two trainers to fight side by side. It can be done with two trainers using one Pokemon each, or one trainer using two Pokemon. Sabrina is intrigued by the concept and agrees to the double battle. Ash and Misty step up, sending out Meowth and Squirtle, while Sabrina sends out Kadabra and Mr. Mime. Once the battle starts, Misty tells Squirtle to use Fling. Squirtle hurls the item it was holding, which turns out to be a small ball. Once the ball bounces off Mr. Mime, Meowth quickly snatches it up and throws it back to Squirtle, who catches it and then uses Fling again. This continues for a while, with the ball slowly being aimed to hit Sabrina's Pokemon less and less as the Pokemon's endurance depletes. Sabrina watches in utter confusion as the two 10-year-olds' Pokemon continue this weird strategy as their trainers laugh. What's wrong, Sabrina? Don't tell me you've never had fun with a Pokemon battle before. You can learn a lot about a person from how they battle, you know. Eventually, Sabrina tells her Pokemon to throw the ball high in the air, thinking that it would put an end to whatever this is. Only for Ash to tell Meowth to use Dark Pulse on the ball, bursting it into a million pieces. Ash scratches the back of his head and promises to get Misty a new ball, which she shrugs off. Sabrina looks at the pieces of the destroyed ball and asks why Ash didn't just use Dark Pulse from the start, since it was clearly a strong attack. Ash grins and says that if he did that, then he wouldn't have gotten to know Sabrina as well, and the fun would have been over too quickly. There's no fun in mercilessly beating on your opponent, but then again, maybe he was being a bit inconsiderate of Sabrina's Pokemon. If Sabrina wanted them to fight hard now, then okay. With the Psychic Pokemon already tired from the game of catch, they fall quickly to the combined attack of Meowth's Dark Pulse and Squirtle's Water Pulse. When the Pokemon fall, Meowth and Squirtle walk up and hold out their hands? Paws? Whatever. Good match. Just as Sabrina is about to give the two challengers their marsh badges, Haunter appears in the ring on Sabrina's side. With the help of Meowth, everyone is able to understand that Haunter wants in on the fun. Smiling, Ash turns to Sabrina and asks how she feels about one more game before they call it a day. Sabrina, without the use of her doll, points out that they've already defeated her. Doesn't mean we can't have just a little bit more fun, as long as we're all okay with it. He turns to Misty, who nods her head in agreement. With Haunter on Sabrina's side and Meowth and Squirtle on Ash and Misty's side, they begin a battle which quickly turns into a game of tag. Sabrina, for the first time in years, smiles and laughs along with Ash, Misty, and their Pokemon. Outside the gym, Sabrina gives both Ash and Misty their new marsh badges. Seeing how fond Haunter has become of Sabrina and vice versa, Ash suggests that it stays and becomes Sabrina's new Pokemon, which they both like. Waving goodbye to their new friends, the team continue on their way. Before they leave town, however, Ash decides to make a quick stop off at the Pokemon Center to withdraw a Magikarp. While they're there, he also updates Professor Oak on his and Misty's progress. Ash lets out a low whistle when Oak tells him that Gary and the other trainers have already gone through Celadon. He's honestly impressed that they can travel so fast. But then again, I'm pretty sure Gary has a car, so I think that's cheating. After withdrawing his Magikarp, Ash turns to Misty with a grin, saying that now they're both Gyarados owners in the making. He immediately starts trying to come up with a cool nickname for them, with some options being Dragon Duo, Waterfall Walkers, and Magikarp Mates. Brock jokingly suggests the name Fishy Friends, which Ash isn't too fond of, but ends up being the one that sticks. While they're on their way to Celadon, they stop and have some lunch and are soon approached by a Mankey. Brock gives it a rice ball and they all sit and enjoy a nice lunch in the sun. When they continue on their way, they soon realise that the Mankey is following them. Misty says that it must have really liked Brock's rice ball, and Ash suggests that Brock catches it, since it seems to like him. After Brock does, the little Mankey lets itself out of its Pokeball and swipes Ash's hat. Not sure whether to laugh or get angry, Ash takes off after the little troublemaker. Cue an entire episode of lighthearted comedic hijinks, which ends with them arriving on the outskirts of Celadon. Upon arriving in town, Brock, Misty, Pikachu, and Meowth are all immediately drawn to the perfume shop. Walking into the shop with Misty, Ash says that he's never really understood the appeal of perfume, though maybe he'll get something for his mum as a souvenir. Hearing this, he's approached by the store manager who commends Ash on his open-mindedness despite perfume not being his cup of tea. As she takes Misty over to try some perfume, Ash calls after her to let him know if she finds anything his mum might like. His attention is then drawn to Meowth, who's snickering, and asks what's up. Meowth reminisces about a time when Ash would have straight up called perfume a waste of money. He's so proud of how much he's grown. To which Ash crosses his arms and replies that getting scratched across the face every time he put his foot in his mouth would have that effect. While they're there, they also learn about how the perfume comes from the gym and the gym leader's Pokemon helping make it. Once Misty has found a perfume that she wants, and one that she thinks would be a good gift for Ash's mum, which he asks the store to deliver to her for him, they make their way to the gym. On the way, Misty and Ash begin to talk about the gym leader Erica, and Misty laments that this gym is going to have a type advantage against her just like Surge. To which Ash points out that it isn't exactly like Scourge, as Erica's Pokemon are almost all dual types, with the second typing being Poison. Poison? That's weak against psychic attacks, isn't it? Yep. Misty grins and begins to cackle evilly, to which Ash tells her to save it for when they get there. Misty also calls first dibs, to which Ash just shrugs. Arriving at the gym, Misty and Ash explain that they're there to challenge the gym leader, and are led to Erica, who both Ash and Misty recognize as the manager of the perfume store. She asks who's going to challenge her first, to which Misty steps forward. Stepping onto the field, Misty calls out her Starmie, while Erica calls out her Tangela. Seeing that Misty has called out a water Pokemon, Erica tells Tangela to hit it with a Vine Whip. In response, Misty calls for Starmie to dodge it, then use Icy Wind. The attack hits for super effective damage, only for Tangela to use Starmie's momentary pause to grab it with its vines, slamming it into the floor and causing massive damage. However, Misty also uses that the Tangela can't move much because of its hold on Starmie to get in one more hit, knocking the Tangela out. Next, Erica sends out Gloom, which immediately hits Starmie with a Petal Dance, knocking it out. Now each down to one Pokemon, Misty calls out Chinchou. Erica tries to have Gloom hit it with Mega Drain, but Misty calls for Chinchou to avoid it with Agility and follow it up with Psybeam. The attack also confuses Gloom, causing it to go tumbling into a tree before it snaps out of it. Erica calls for Gloom to use Stun Spore to stop Chinchu from moving, and for a few moments Chinchu isn't able to move at all, allowing Erica to get in a few hits. But then, Chinchu manages to get off one more Psy Beam, knocking out Gloom and winning the match. Not only that, but Chinchu also evolves into Lantern, which Misty thinks is the perfect cherry to this victory sundae. Just as Ash is about to step up for his battle, Team Rocket show up as per usual. And just like in canon, these fine morons decide to set off a bomb, causing the gym to catch alight. While Misty tries to help contain the flames with her water Pokemon, Ash and Brock help with evacuating the gym. The gym isn't as damaged as it is in canon, but it is still gutted. Erica apologizes to Ash that his challenge had gotten interrupted, which he just shrugs off. She asks if he would like to have a battle now, but Ash shakes his head. He thinks that Erica already has enough to worry about right now. They need to come back this way anyway when he and Misty go to challenge her sisters. By then, he's sure that the gym will be back up and running, so he'll just challenge her then. After this, they make their way to Hop 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 Town, which I can't think of any major changes for, aside from Misty taking Psyduck willingly. Jeez, this was a weird episode. Ash also suggests that Misty add Psyduck to her team right away, since with Chinchu now evolved into Lantern, she only has 2 Pokemon that can fight on dry land. And that, everyone, is where I'm going to leave the story for now. Join me next time as we see Brock get his 5th Pokemon and witness the events of the P1 Grand Prix. I'm Rune. See you next chapter.